Cool. Yeah, guys. So you listening to the Grey Ave Podcast, and my name is Grey Jabez, and some of you are probably watching this on Hardcore Crypto. We have another exciting episode today with my man Nick. How do you actually pronounce your surname? Saponaro or Soprano?
My pleasure. Yeah, my name is Nick Saponaro. I'm the Chief Information Officer at the Divi Project, which is a proof-of-stake blockchain that's secured by masternodes. And our whole vision, our whole outlook has always been to make crypto as accessible as possible, as easy to use as possible for the mainstream. So we started out with our one-click masternodes, which have gotten pretty popular. We were the first to really conceptualize a one-click masternode. And it's been pretty agreed upon by people like yourself, Gray, and other influencers in the space that it is the easiest way to deploy a masternode.
Yeah.
So we're trying to taking that same methodology of making crypto easy, one click, and bringing it to a whole suite of financial services over the next basically year and a half.
All right. So, that speaks to a lot of things when you talk about masternodes, and a lot of people definitely would want to learn more about it when you talk about proof of stake, but I think let's start with you a little bit. Most people would want to know, you said you're doing DJing before you got into crypto. That is very interesting on itself, because a lot of people think that for you to just get into the cryptocurrency space, you have to be some kind of a developer first.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was doing some freelance web development, really simple stuff. But I feel like crypto is one of those spaces that almost anybody can get in and start building something in the space. You don't have to be a developer necessarily, which of course I am, but obviously there's people like yourself who are educators, speakers and things like that. People that have operational experience can build companies a lot better than developers can a lot of the time. So I feel like cryptocurrency is one of those opportunities where it really redistributes the potential wealth in a major way to everybody of all different backgrounds. Of course, my interest in technology led me here, but I think everybody's at this point at least has some interest in technology, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And before that, like what were you doing? What was Nick like, say, at 5 years old?
Yeah, I mean, I had a pretty normal upbringing. I definitely had an interest in technology from a young age. I was always taking things apart and putting them back together, DVD players and computers and things like that. I actually started a computer company when I was just out of high school, and we were building just, custom rigs for people, mainly for gamers, things like that. Yeah. And that was my first entry to a real technical industry. We sponsored some teams and stuff like that. It was pretty fun. But I learned a lot about scaling a business back then, because, we were undercutting everybody's prices and we were getting a lot of sales. But as soon as we needed to hire more people to build the volume of computers, we realized, oh, shoot, we can't afford to, because we're undercutting everybody's prices.
Right.
So that taught me a really valuable lesson about, scale and pricing. And not pricing yourself out of your own market, which, I've used that same sort of thought process around our masternodes, because it's a subscription service and it's more expensive than most of the other subscription services out there that offer, masternode hosting and things like that. And there was a lot of contention internally about that initially. It was like, I don't know if we should be charging this much. We should really think about, there's this price war going on. People are charging $1.99 or whatever a month. I'm like, no. Look at the biggest companies in the world, Apple, Tesla, they're charging more for the quality service, right? And so that's sort of the same approach we took. That's kind of a diversion from how I got here and where I came from. But yeah, I mean, I was always into tech. Started learning how to code when I was probably 18 or 19, but didn't really start taking it seriously until I turned probably 24.
But you decided to have more fun with music. It's fun, huh?
Yeah, and actually, music is really, at least music production, especially electronic music production, is pretty nerdy in itself. I mean,
Yeah,
you're
very,
programming.
very nerdy, right?
Yeah, a lot of people, like, I've had people not make that connection. They're like, how does music have anything to do with tech? It's like,
Right.
you'd be surprised, actually, because pretty much all music is made on computers now.
Yeah.
And in a way, you're programming drums, you're programming notes and things like that. And so I think a lot of people from the electronic music world probably would resonate with crypto in a major way. I've seen some artists coming over already too, but yeah.
Even in hip hop, actually, a lot of people who have got into crypto earlier from the hip hop scene, they're actually producers more. Who have been playing with tech since they were young, like they're nerds, like the Pit Rock or Just Blaze, all these guys that have just been nerds with this stuff. I'm like, yeah,
there's dudes pressing buttons. There's nothing nerdy.
Exactly.
That's exactly what, especially DJing. You're up there just turning knobs, pressing buttons, but you're creating at the same time. And in a real sense, that's what coding is. You're, especially web development and front end development. You're writing something that turns into something that you can use or play with or see. So there's definitely a lot of connections there between music and tech.
Exactly. It's wonderful. I think the best spots for technology, I think the most way you can have fun with tech is when you can actually use it for art. I'm coming from a computer graphics background. I was doing simulation, water simulations and fires and smoke, for CGI stuff. So
That's cool.
That was, to me, was the perfect spot for like programming and aesthetics. The perfect combination. I still enjoy that to this day. But anyway, let's segue straight into Divi right now. So the concept of proof of stake, it's something that a lot of people probably have heard about when it comes to Bitcoin, right? And there's a lot of changes going on in the industry as far as consensus algorithms or methods, and there's a proof of work that's kind of fading away. A lot of the new blockchains, they're leveraging proof of stake simply because of the efficiency. Mm-hmm. But where does Masternode? Can you just give an overview of where does a Masternode make sense?
Masternodes were created initially by Dash to facilitate private sends. They're actually really basically like a second layer on the blockchain. So you see like proof of work blockchains that have masternodes and proof of stake blockchains that have masternodes. What we use them for currently is to secure and verify transactions in the network. We don't have necessarily like a private send feature like Dash does. In the future, though, I think masternodes can be used for a lot more than just securing and verifying transactions. It's almost a waste of all the computational power just to have them verifying transactions. I think the consensus algorithm does a pretty good job of that. So what we're looking at using it for is actual storage of metadata. We're even devising a way of using the masternodes as funding channels for our own Lightning network, which is a really unique implementation for masternodes. I've heard people are using them to set up like VPNs, virtual private networks.
So let's keep it very basic for like somebody who have no idea. And probably I'm thinking of this from someone who have heard of Bitcoin mining. The concept of Bitcoin mining, they have heard it is exciting. They want to do it because they can make free Bitcoins.
Totally.
So can you explain it from that angle?
Yeah, I mean, similarly to mining, masternodes are basically a computer program that you run, and they support the network. And for supporting that network, you get paid back a little bit of whichever cryptocurrency you're running the masternode for. So in our case, Divi. It's as simple as that. The difference is it doesn't require mining equipment. You can run it on a cloud server, which is how we run most of ours. You can run it on your home PC. So it's the barrier to entry for masternodes is generally a lot lower. All you have to do is own enough of the coin in order to set one up.
Okay. So to summarize this, you mean to mine Bitcoin, for example, you can, But it's very expensive. You need a lot of good computational power, and you need more energy to sustain that.
Yeah.
Whereas
and
masternodes, and you're competing against the big boys, so your odds are just like very, very obtuse.
Exactly.
And with masternodes, you say you can do this just by owning coins. You don't have an expensive computer to do it. You can actually, you don't even have to run it on your computer as much. You can leverage a server somewhere like a Google Cloud or Amazon Web Services, something like that.
Exactly. And typically to set up a masternode, like for example, for Dash, it would require you to go through a lot of technical steps. If you go on like Dash's website or Packcoin or a lot of the masternode coins, you'll see they even warn the user, like, warning, if you're not well versed in PuTTY and Linux and all these different languages and operating systems, you should not attempt to do this. Find someone who is well versed in that. So even though there's this lower barrier to entry from like a financial standpoint, there's a technical barrier, right? So that's what we set out to solve initially, is to lower that or destroy that technical barrier altogether and make it as easy as pressing a button to set up a master. And that's what we've done with our current wallet. And you'll even be able to do it from mobile when that launches.
So apart from, I understand that concept of being able to run a masternode. Now you have actually solved two problems, eliminating the entry barrier from a financial point of view, and also from a technical point of view, like you say. But then what is now the value proposition for Divi as a cryptocurrency? Because that's what you're going to be getting paid on, you're getting paid in that cryptocurrency.
Agreed. No cryptocurrency is valuable. I mean, yeah, of course it trades for some amount on an exchange, but no cryptocurrency is intrinsically valuable until it's being used for real world transactions, right? So that's always been a hurdle. I mean, it's a hurdle for any cryptocurrency, but it's been a hurdle for us. But we've actually just solved this problem. So you may have seen on our blog by the time this launches that we've actually acquired a financial services company in Costa Rica. So we're actually able to now offer a full suite of financial services, everything from getting your first bank account, for which the fees can be either extremely low, paid in Divi, or eventually, hopefully, free. You'll be able to, buy and sell cryptocurrency right from your wallet, get a debit card that you can actually use in the real world, all backed by the Divi cryptocurrency, and all the fees for remittances and setting up accounts and sending money all over the world will be paid using our cryptocurrency. And that just opens the door for pretty much anything, right? We can set up merchant services online and off, do everything that a regular, contactless payment system would have.
Right. The question would be, how do you think this is better than how do you compete with the existing payment channels, like say Visa, or in cryptocurrency itself, say Bitcoin or Litecoin? Why would some people want to use Divi instead of say use Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum?
So I don't think that necessarily we need to compete in the traditional sense of the word. I think that these things can coexist in a very holistic manner. So to answer your first question, the Visa question, because we actually own a major stake in this financial services company, we're able to offer an easy sort of transition between fiat and cryptocurrency. So if you want to use fiat, you can use that in our ecosystem. If you need cryptocurrency suddenly, you don't have to leave the ecosystem. You don't have to go to Coinbase or go wherever you would normally go. It's all right there. Same thing with Bitcoin, right? So we're building software basically to not go too deep into the technicals that would allow very, very quick and easy swaps between Divi, Bitcoin, Divi, Litecoin, pretty much all of those, legacy chains or traditional chains that have existed for many years. I don't think that necessarily we need to abandon any of those. I think Bitcoin is an incredible technology that should continue to be used. But is it usable as a currency, as a transactional currency? In some sense, yes, but at scale,
no.
Like a Visa scale, probably not.
Yeah.
Right? Even with the Lightning Network, but that's so far from being ready, there needs to be, I think, this transitional period or transitional software that offers all of the services that everyone needs in the meantime. And I think that's what we're trying to do.
Right. That's a very interesting proposition. And in doing all this, from someone who would want to get into Divi from a financial point of view, say, I want to get a Masternode so that I can mine, because that's what people would explain it. They think when they're holding a Masternode, it's another form of mining, right? In simpler terms. So what kind of gain is someone looking at? What am I going to gain from if I'm running a Divi Masternode? Is it going to save my life? Should I quit my job?
Well, I like to look at as Masternodes as sort of like a side hustle. People drive for Uber, people deliver for Postmates and things like that. There's all these different, they call it the gig economy, right? Which is huge now. Everyone has to have a side hustle because it's so expensive to live everywhere in the world. And it's just a nice way to earn extra income. So I try to look at Masternodes that way, because there is no guarantee. You're guaranteed to get extra coins, but there's no guarantee that those coins will be worth more or less or the same over the course of time, right? That said, the estimated rate of return, so that's the number of coins over what you originally bought, is between basically 40 and 50%. So you're going to have, if you have the highest level Masternode, you have 50% more coins at the end of it than what you had. Now that doesn't, of course, there's no promise that will, like I said, be worth more or less or the same, but you can kind of make your own judgment from that point.
Right. And how much, like, are we talking about when it comes to a Masternode for a beginner?
Well, today, if you were to look at today's actual value, which is all I can technically talk about, the highest level Masternode is paying about $6,700 a month, and that goes down from there. So how much? $6,700.
Okay.
A month.
A month.
Yeah. So
how much are you buying a node for that?
Of course, that node right now costs you about almost $180,000 today.
Right.
But now, of course, that's a high barrier to entry, which is why we created actually 5 different levels of Masternode. So the lowest tier right now costs you about $1,800, and that'll return over the course of a year about the same, 40 or 50% more coins. Now, even $1,700, $1,800 is kind of expensive for some people, right? Which is where the staking comes in. Yeah. So you only need 10,000 coins to stake, and you can still earn.
Well, what does that mean to stake 10,000 coins on the Divi platform?
So staking is essentially, to explain it quickly, it's just a matter of keeping coins in your wallet and letting your wallet run, and basically attempt to create new blocks or add new blocks to the blockchain. Just like where proof of work, it does those crazy calculations. And if your computer does the calculation first, you win the block and you win the money. In this sense, your computer doesn't have to work super hard. It just, as long as you have that stake that you're willing to keep in your wallet, basically, you have the opportunity to solve that problem. Right now, basically, on a general basis, let's check. Yeah, we can actually check in our Telegram channel, which is pretty cool, how much 10,000 staking would get you.
Awesome.
So yeah, today, over the course of 30 days, if you were staking 10,000 Divi, you'd have 274 more Divi over the course of 1 month. And that, of course, those numbers change almost minute by minute, because more people are staking, less people are running Masternodes. There's a lot of parameters that could change those dynamics, but general numbers.
So for those who are watching now, I will be doing a Masternode tutorial for Divi on Hardcore Crypto. So you guys would be able to watch it and really see how it works. And then I will be documenting my experience with it, because I have to put myself in the game before, so that, people would understand exactly what's happening and, how it works. So just
You're
make sure.
Person to tell them.
Exactly. So if you're listening to this on the Grey Ave Podcast, the whole tutorial will be on my YouTube channel, Hardcore Crypto. So make sure you check that out. Now, with cryptocurrency and where it's going, and with what Divi is doing right now, and looking at what the market has done. Altcoins have been super crashed. A lot of horrible companies have really disseminated now. A lot of fake coins, scams, they're actually dying out slowly.
Yeah.
What do you think? What has kept you guys afloat to make to the point that you're still operating now and acquiring new companies and stuff?
Well, it wasn't easy. Obviously, the bear market hit everybody just as hard. Maybe some others, harder than others. But we didn't raise that much money in our token sale. But I think that actually helped us because we didn't have 15 million, 20 million. We only had about $3 million to work with. Over the course of 2 years, basically building a whole company, a new blockchain, a new application, and everything like that. It's very expensive. I think what really kept us afloat is our community, and consistently just speaking with them, being transparent with them. We've never missed pretty much a weekly update that we deliver on our blog. I think just that level of consistency while all these other projects are kind of like falling apart and stopping communications with their communities and things like that. There's never really been anything like the altcoin boom of 2017, where these companies were raising millions of dollars on an idea basically with no product. And so you're going to end up with a lot of people that are inexperienced or just take the money and run, right? As we've seen. And it's a shame. But if people actually, if project owners and developers actually treated their communities like shareholders, like stakeholders in their actual company, which of course they're not legally, but in a major way, they are a part of your company, right? I think if more people actually just treated them that way, their companies would have lasted a lot longer. And they might still be around today.
And how many nodes are running right now on Divi?
We're about to touch 500 masternodes. Yeah, and of course that's in different tiers. So like the highest tier is 10 million Divi. So that's actually 10 of the lowest tier. So if you break that down into the number of people, I don't know, but we have 500 nodes just about up today, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and your team, how many people are able to pull this off? Like how big is it?
Initially, we really didn't have that many people, maybe 5 or 6 developers, of which I am one. After the bear market started to come to a close and we started to attract more interest of bigger money, let's say, we were able to raise a little bit of money and hire. Now we have almost 30 people working for us, which is just absolutely fantastic. I never thought we would have that many people working on this project. So now we actually have divisions for mobile wallet specifically. There's probably 3 or 4 people working only on mobile, 4 people on just the website, 4 people just on the desktop, 4 people just on the on the blockchain, and then operational people and things like that. And it gives me the opportunity as one of the leaders of the project to actually take a step back, let everyone do their job and focus on things like this, partnerships, and just making sure that our tech development is moving forward in the right direction and not getting so caught up in the weeds of all right, I have to do this myself now,
So, for a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, would just like to know, what are the challenges that you go through as an entrepreneur when operating a company like this? What were your darkest moments?
So probably the darkest moment was the original launch. We attempted to launch probably 6 months prior to our official launch. We dealt with contractors that just weren't up to par with the skills that we needed, but we weren't really being let in. There was no transparency between us and that crew. Not to blame them, obviously the buck stops at us regardless, but not having a holistic overview of what's happening during development makes it really difficult to know when you're going to be able to launch. And when we launched, nothing worked. It was just so bad. And you can probably find some videos on our YouTube where I actually go in more detail about it. But, the FUD started raining down upon us. Just people were so upset, dumping the coins on the market and trashing our price. And it was tough, those moments.
What were you thinking about that at that time?
Oh, I mean, you're just stressed, right? Because the crazy part was that we actually went to New York. Like we were expecting to launch. We had all this media lined up in New York. I was going to go on, Cheddar News on the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ and all these things. And I still had to do that. But we were under the impression that we were going to be promoting our new product, right? Which was not the case. All of a sudden that night, I'd just flown across the country to be there. So I had one word on my mind that I won't say on your podcast, but you could probably think about what it was.
You can say here, you can say anything.
Can I say? Yeah.
Yeah.
One big F, dude, I was just so disappointed,
it became damage control now instead of sharing the good.
Exactly. But we just kept pushing forward. We still went on Cheddar and we did all of those media engagements. And then we hired a new crew and we were able to, once we honed our development process in to be internal, we were able to launch again in 6 months. And, the rest is history. But that wasn't the only challenge. We still had to deal with the KYC FUD when that started becoming a legal requirement for ICOs. And there's all these little hiccups along the way. Cryptopia got hacked. That was like our biggest exchange at one point. And they still haven't come back, right? So we had to, you're always rolling with the punches, so to speak. You're always just trying to, because there's no playbook for this. This is a brand new industry, basically. It's still in its nascent stages at 10 years old. So it's it's definitely challenging, but I think as long as you keep showing up every day and you have your eyes on your vision, I think you can go far.
And a lot of entrepreneurs go through those moments of like, fuck, man, what am I doing? Did you ever question yourself whether you're good enough, or you bet too much on yourself, or it's
totally.
Like you think all sorts of things sometimes, like, hey, man,
totally,
what was I doing? Especially now that when things go wrong, you can actually read the comments directly from what the community is saying.
Exactly. Of course, there was definitely times you want to hang it all up. You want to just say, I give up. What am I supposed to do? This is all my fault. You just, it's easy to put yourself down. It's really hard to pick yourself back up.
But what's hard? What's hard is actually the easier way is always to blame others. That's the easiest you can do. It's very hard to point the finger at yourself, which is always always the right thing most of the times.
Correct. And I think, honestly, I've read a lot of books that state this, and I can see other really successful entrepreneurs like CDD, of Binance and stuff. When something goes wrong, they immediately take responsibility,
right,
and find a solution. And that's key. Anytime something goes wrong, just say, okay, we acknowledge that this isn't good. Mm-hmm. This is the story, and this is what we're going to do moving forward and how we're going to fix it. And people, people can't not respect that, because that is, like you said, that's the right thing to do. Bottom line, people that pass the buck or try to blame it on others or just walk away and try to avoid the problem, you're only going to make it worse. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day.
And how does your entrepreneurial life meets your personal life?
I don't have much of a personal life, but no, I do find time for enjoyment. I live in a beautiful place, so there's a beach right outside, and I try to enjoy that and exercise and things like that. That's the main thing, is just keeping myself healthy, spending time with my girlfriend and things like that. I think a healthy balance is good. Trying to sleep when you can.
That's hard.
Yeah.
The sleep part is very hard.
Especially when you're stressed out, it's really easy to stay up. But I've found over the course of the past couple of years of doing this, if you stay up all night, you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to put out quality code. You're not going to put out quality content, things like that. It's better to just call it a night, go to sleep, wake up. Tomorrow's a new day, right?
Yeah. And how do you see the future of this now going forward?
I have a lot of high hopes at this moment, especially with being able to acquire this remittances company in Costa Rica now. it opens up so many new doors. It already has. A lot of things are already coming down the pipeline that we're really excited about in 2020, especially, you know, the mobile wallet and things like that. I really think that we can capture a piece of the market as a financial services company. We don't have to dominate. We don't have to be the one and only. I don't believe in that. You know, there's always a Lyft to someone's Uber. You know what I mean? And if you go to some other countries, there's like 10 Lyfts to Uber, right?
Sure.
All these, I mean, I was in Indonesia. There's Gojek, there's Uber, there's Lyft, there's all these different services. New York even has probably 5 or 6. People will, especially with cryptocurrency, find the ones they like, and just like brands that they like, attach themselves to that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So I definitely see us capturing a significant piece of the market, and hopefully partnering with some bigger companies to help propel cryptocurrency into the mainstream.
But that was a good move on your side when you decided to just, you know, acquire the payments company, because that's not the road most are willing to take. Simply because I think crypto has a lot of inexperienced people when it comes to business itself. You know, creating value and scaling things. You know, there's a lot of monolithic thinking sometimes, or just thinking that a cryptocurrency would solve everything. You know, which is really not the case. So, you know, good job on that, man. I think you made the right move.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the hybrid approach is definitely the path forward, at least now.
Yeah, and I think the companies like your guys will actually scale faster or have some real life use cases faster than anyone else, or just the pure cryptocurrencies, because, you know, you'll be able to reach an audience or a market that already exists, is waiting to be served, but they're not really willing to jump ship into crypto just as yet.
Exactly. We look at it as like a Trojan horse strategy. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could try to beat the bankers at their own game all day by trying to create a new paradigm, which we are, right? We are creating the next generation of finance. But if you want to beat them at their own game, you kind of have to play it with them first. And once you sneak in there, which is what we're trying to do with this financial services company, then you can start introducing products to those customers. I mean, this company that we just acquired has thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of customers every month using their remittance company. Okay, come into the remittance office. Most of them actually go into the physical branches to send remittances all over the world. Nicaragua, Venezuela, you know, all these places all over South and Central America. When they go in now, they'll be offered the opportunity to purchase a little bit of Divi and lower the fee for remittances, which is really important, especially when you're sending to underserved countries and things like that, which I know you know well, because I know you're working with all different countries in Africa to you know, transition people between Bitcoin and fiat. So I think it's really important that they slowly are introduced to these things, and over time it will just become second nature.
So what are your guys' plans for Africa? Because I think for your project, there is a lot of demand for something like this, simply because people are interested in crypto, participating in networks, and mining is just way too complicated, which has led to a lot of people investing into scams. But with what you have done with Divi, you know, to run a node on your platform is very easy. It's pretty much click of a button, you know, once you have everything set up. What do you have? Do you have any areas in mind that you want to go into?
We are in Nigeria right now. We have a couple guys out there that they just did their first meetup. The community out there seems to be growing and at least becoming aware of Divi. I know some have ownership, but I think mobile will really be important there, and all over the world, of course, but all over Africa especially. I'd love to do, you know, I met you in South Africa and I saw a lot of the benefits. You opened my eyes to a lot of the benefits, actually. I had no idea how utilized Bitcoin already is out there. So accessing those markets is going to become extremely important. And I think, you know, using you even as a gateway to introduce people to, you know, all of these financial services that we'll be able to provide that maybe they weren't even able to access before. You know, like having a bank account number and storing money somewhere. That's really important. So yeah, I mean, South Africa, Malawi, as you said, Nigeria, pretty much anywhere we can go. But those are the places that we have actually a presence already.
And the mobile part you said is very important, because that's really the entry point for those markets. It's like once you have the mobile set up, it's really easy to get. What I always say is that the scammers get away with a lot because they're always ahead of the game than the real companies. They start with making everything way easy, and the narrative is simple, and then they just create the tools and they horn the people in. By the time a lot of good guys catch up, it's a little too late, because I've seen this by having an exchange in Malawi. It's, the scammers have done a job of bad education of what really Bitcoin is. So there, the people think that Bitcoin is something that you buy and you have to invest it into some kind of a platform or a mining operation or a 24-hour trading boat, some stuff like that. So they actually buy it from you just to invest it there, and they lose it because those guys are scammers, right? So it's difficult to get them to change into no, you don't really have to do that. Right. But it's good that guys like you are taking it on yourself and really creating tools that are usable, and also understanding different markets, different tools,
Yeah, I mean, we're even working on, and yes, education is 100% paramount to the success of all of this stuff. We're even working on SMS-based transactions. So people that don't even have a smartphone, which we know from one of our partners that, in the Middle East, especially some parts of India, it's all mobile, like text, not smartphone mobile, but like feature phones. Yeah. So we're making even that a focus, just trying to make it as accessible as humanly possible. But yeah, mobile is going to become extremely important. And because our ecosystem is all within one app, you don't have to worry about going and investing it in a cloud mining thing or whatever. You can access any of the financial services, including masternodes and staking, right there on your mobile.
Dude, if you can really crack the code on the mobile one and have the SMS working, you'll probably go 10x on where you are now. Trust me. Because those things are. It's always funny that when I go to the meetups or conferences, people talk about what they're doing, and most of the time I hear them. The narrative just shows that they don't really understand what the emerging markets need. It's like, it's a different gameplay. People have different problems and different tools. Even if you look at Luno in South Africa, they're the most successful because there are a lot more exchanges right now fighting them, coming after them, including these guys. But the problem is that they put the money where their mouth is. They focus more on education. They're not trying to get to be the exchange with the most coins, but surely they're the most reliable and the most known, and their tools are very easier than the other platforms. The other platforms are still trying to sell the concept of, we have more coins. Whereas Luno, it has a very simple app that you can use. It's reliable. It works. It never breaks, and obviously that's
all that matters.
Yeah.
People just want something that works. It doesn't have to have every single feature ever thought of. It just has to have the features that are useful to people and understandable to a large demographic of worldwide users. And that's why I think, Apple dominates, at least they dominate the United States, because even though the Samsung phones have way more features and cooler things that it can do, the Apple phone just works, and it has all of those things that you want right there in the phone, right? Yeah. It has your email, it has your calendar, it has even your credit card, all right there in their ecosystem. I love how you can copy and paste between your MacBook and your iPhone, right? Those small little things that make your life just a little bit easier
are matter the most, man. And coming from myself, who used to be a header on Apple, growing up a nerd, loving a PC,
an iOS phone, man.
And once I had an Apple laptop, my first MacBook Pro, I was like, damn it, this is good. It just makes my life easier. And the busier my life gets, it just makes sense that, these simpler tools is really all I need. I don't need something complicated. I just want things that works. And now I use iPhone. I have a MacBook. I still have a PC laptop, but I still prefer Apple right now when it comes to tools for work.
Agreed. Yeah, I think everybody has that like first mental barrier with Apple, especially because it's so much more expensive too. Right, just like, there's no way it's worth that much. And then you get it and you're like, oh, okay. It's actually, actually makes a lot of sense.
And what kind of books can you recommend for other entrepreneurs that want to learn more about business? And what do you think? I think the best question to ask is, what books really change your life, or you can look up to all the time and say, when I read this, it was kind of a highlight in my life?
Man, there are a couple business books that I would definitely recommend. Tim Sanders' Love is a Killer App is a really easy read, but really powerful. And it talks about how basically having emotional intelligence is paramount to succeeding in business. Rather than being a shark and trying to screw everyone over to get ahead, if you actually open the doors for people and help them through it, you will see a lot more coming your way. It's a simple what goes around comes around concept, but a lot of people actually don't follow that rule in business. So that's definitely one. Tim Draper's most recent book, The Startup Hero, or Becoming the Startup Hero, that was a really excellent one that taught me a lot about work-life balance too, because I've always struggled with that. But I think it's important also to read non-business books, right. Like read Harry Potter or whatever, read a fictional novel every once in a while, because your brain needs both things. It needs the business and the nonfiction stuff, but it also needs that creative side too, I think, to really like thrive.
I'm still struggling with that. Like, reading wise, I've just never been good at reading. It's like I read on demand. It's like I need to learn something and then I read about it, And now I'm trying to get into a lot more fiction but I think music is kind of my buffer for I just like creative. I don't know if I listen to rap a lot, and there is a lot of it that is very kind of comical. I don't know if you listen to Demigods or Apathy or guys like that.
I know, I'm not familiar.
Okay, it's like they just make music that's just, you listen to it, it's never true, but it's like, wow, it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's creative.
Very imaginative and creative. It's like watching movies, like 3 minute movies. It's beautiful.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's all that matters is creativity and entertainment, right? That's what it's for.
What do you do creatively?
Well, I used to make a lot of music.
Do you still
but
DJ right now for fun?
No, I really don't have enough time with everything with Divi going on to get out, because it's not just the DJing. Like, you don't just get booked and go play. Like, you also have to go and support other DJs. And if you really want to like continuously get booked, at least in this town I live in, and I've had the opportunity to play all over the world, from Indonesia, Mexico, Canada, and of course all over the United States. But it requires quite a bit of effort actually to do that, because you need to constantly be putting music out and new mixes and things like that.
Is that how your Twitter got approved? Was it during your music days?
Yeah, it was during my music days. I had just put an album on iTunes of songs I'd probably be embarrassed to listen to now. But yeah, I had a publicist at the time that helped me get that. And I don't even think they do the check marks anymore. So like, I can't even change my username, because if you change the username, it unverifies your account.
Oh, damn. That's why you still have the music.
Exactly.
SP Productions.
Yeah, like, why is it NSAP Productions? That's a long story. But that check mark, I mean, it doesn't mean that much to me in my head, but it does verify you in some way.
Look, in the world of social media, it's a great asset, man.
It is. I've definitely enjoyed having it. It's gotten me some opportunities here and there. But yeah, I mean, as far as creatively nowadays, I like to write. I've been trying to put together a blog more consistently, but again, time is always a constraint.
A blog about what?
Development mainly. So I'll write like tutorials and things like that. I want to do more opinion pieces too, but yeah, it's just
It
finding the
sounds
time
like
to.
you sound like you writing a lot of code, man.
Yeah, I mean, I still try to keep my hands in the code as much as possible. I don't get to write as much as I did when we started Divi.
Hmm.
But anytime we're scoping a new product or we're adding features and things like that, or if we're like adding a new software to our tech stack, I always jump in and I try to at least learn like how it works, how I'd like it to work, because that's my job. I'm the chief information officer. So like I'm the tie between the technology and the outside world, basically all the goals that we have as a business.
Yeah, another question before I forget was that how did you even ended up becoming you're the co-founder?
I'm one of the co-founders. Yeah.
How did you ended up into this whole spec to the point that you met the CTO and the CEO and you became part of the group?
It's crazy. I started out as a WordPress developer for Divi. A friend of mine said, "Hey man, we're trying to get into this. We're trying to start this cryptocurrency. We want to get into this ICO gold rush. Can you make us a website?" And I was like, "Sure, of course." I was in school at the time. Almost finished my software development certification at UCSD, and I was like, "Yeah, I need the money. That's awesome." But they were so young, like they had barely just started. And so it gave me the opportunity to actually like add some value to the company and start inputting ideas, even on the original white paper and stuff like that. And over time, as I started to build more and more things for them, they're like, do you want to come on board as a founder and do this full time? And I was like, oh my God, I was ecstatic, because I was investing in cryptocurrency. I knew a lot about it. But I never thought that I'd get to like work on a project for real. So I jumped at that chance, and yeah, I mean the rest is history now.
Great, man. Great chat. Thank you for your time. How can the people reach you on social media? For those who want to get started with Divi, what would be the first step? Yeah,
we're just at Divi Project pretty much all the way across the board: Telegram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, etc. If you want to chat with me, you can find us on Telegram, or you can hit my Twitter at NSAP Productions.
And on your Telegram, you strictly said no DMs, please.
Yeah, please don't DM me on Telegram. I have too many chats and bubbles in there. But if you tag me in the actual channel, I'm happy to chat with you there.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. Cheers, man. Awesome, man.
Yeah,
this was fantastic.